exactly is task management? Seems like a pretty obvious question, but it does have a little bit of nuance. So a task is basically just something that you need to get done. And usually a task has a due date. But I do make a delineation between tasks and events, because a lot of people like to put tasks on their calendar. I view the calendar as reserved for things that are going to happen at a very specific time and not before that time. Whereas a task is something you have the option of getting done anytime between now and whenever it's due. And the awesome part about task management is it really doesn't differ a whole lot based on whether you're a student or a freelancer or a business owner or a professional. Really, you're just entering the details of what you need to get done into your system, and then you're making sure that you do it on time. And if you start as a student, perhaps, and you move into the professional world in a couple of years, you're gonna find that your process doesn't change a whole lot. So when it comes to task management, there are a few common problems that people tend to experience that make them sort of fall off the bandwagon and stop using their system. And the primary one in my mind is not trusting the system 100%. So maybe you put a few tasks in here and there and you use the system for those, but then you try to remember other tasks just in your brain, or you write them down on a sticky note and you throw them on your fridge. And this can work for a while, but over time, if you're not trusting that system 100%, then you are not using that system, and you're probably going to stop using it altogether, which leads to it containing tasks that you forget about and don't get done. The next problem that I see is the slow decay of the system due to what I like to call entropy or chaos. And every single productivity system that anybody has ever built can become a victim of chaos if it is not properly maintained. You're gonna have tasks that just didn't get done but never got checked off. Or there are updates to tasks that you never actually went in and reflected in your system. And eventually you realize that your task management system is no longer a reflection of what you need to get done in your life, which leads right back to problem number one, not trusting the system and abandoning it. And finally, unless it is properly designed, your to-do list in your task management system can start to feel very overwhelming. You wake up in the morning, you log into Todoist or whatever tool you're using, and you see all of these tasks facing you. And then that analysis paralysis hits. You don't know what to do, or you feel overwhelmed and your body just wants to shut down. So I actually have an interesting hack for dealing with this. I use Todoist as my main task manager, but I also have what I like to call a daily task list. And I make this every single day either in Evernote, I have a specific to-do notebook where I'll just make a daily checklist, or in a paper notebook. And that is what I look at when I'm going through my day and I check things off. And then once my day is over, that piece of paper or that note is basically dead to me. Because once the day's over, I have used that to go in and make corresponding changes within the master to-do system within Todoist to make sure that that is still a good reflection of what I need to get done. I also want to go through a few key elements of what I think makes a task management system great instead of just okay. Primarily, it needs to be easy to enter tasks. The more fiddly it is to enter a task, the more you have to click a bunch of menus and drop downs and all kinds of stuff to set the dates and reminders and projects. The more friction there is, and the less you're gonna wanna do it. Additionally, it also needs to be easily divisible into different sections because all of us have multifaceted lives. If you're a student, you have different classes, probably 5 or 6 of them. If you're a professional, you probably have different projects you're working on at any given time. And all of us have grocery lists and errands and all sorts of personal things that we need to take care of. And we don't want all those things mixed up because sometimes we want to go and look at, say, what's due in one particular class for the rest of the semester or what one particular project looks like. But lastly, there also needs to be views to see what is coming up today, what's coming up this week, and possibly what's coming up in the next 2 weeks globally across the entire span of your life. So now let's see what this actually looks like in practice. And I'm going to use Todoist as my demo here since it's the app that I use, but every app you've chosen to use, a lot of this is going to look very similar. So let's start going through the process of actually setting this up. And I'm actually using my own personal Todoist account here. So there's already some things that I've set up, but as an example, I've created several different projects for courses that I took when I was a college student. So I've got HDFS 276, Management 370. And what I'm going to do is I want to create a project just called classes because I don't want to see these all on my sidebar. I want to just be a little bit more organized. So I can just drag classes up here and then using this little 6-dot icon next to every class, I can just drag them in, indenting them, and that will put them within the classes folder. And what this allows you to do is click through your classes and see, this is what I've got coming up in, say, MIS 432. This is what I've got coming up in Magic 210, which was definitely a class that I took in college. This is what I got coming up in Nunchucks 403, also a class I totally took in college. My college was awesome. This just sort of allows me to compartmentalize things in my head. But we also have the today and next 7 days views. So these individual projects are great for overall planning, but when you're trying to see, what do I have coming up today? What do I have coming up in the next 7 days? What do I actually got to do right now? That's where the today and next 7 days views become very, very useful. So I can see today, I gotta master the flossing dance and I gotta learn Fireball. That's all that I need to do today. And now I might go over to Evernote or a piece of paper, write that down on my daily list, and I'm good to go. I can get out of Todoist for the day. Now, one thing that I wanna add when it comes to the topic of these views here is to answer the question, what if you wanna see what's coming up maybe in the next 14 days? Because next 7 days, that's useful, but what if you really want to be up and up on what's coming up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks? That is where something called filters comes in handy. So essentially, filters lets you do a custom search or a custom query using any kind of data or labels or projects that you want within Todoist to create a custom list for yourself. So I've gone in here and I've created one called due in the next 2 weeks. And I can actually show you how I did that. So let's say we want to see what's coming up in 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and call this filter due within 3 weeks. And for the query, we're just going to put 21 days. And now I have a filter where I can see everything that's coming up in the next 3 weeks. What if you have a task that you do quite often that has a lot of different steps? It's not very fun to recreate a checklist for yourself every single time. But if you just put like one line item and you try to remember every single step, you're probably going to forget at least something. For example, every single week I have to put out a new YouTube video, and uploading that video has a lot of different steps. I need to set a title, I need to do keyword research for the description, set tags, and if I were to try to do everything from memory, I would forget something every week. So I have made a templates folder, and within content creation, I have a video editing workflow and a video publishing workflow project, which I can just go through every single time. And if I want to, I can click this little 3-dot icon over here, hit export as a template, and save it as a template. So let's just call it video workflow. But I don't just want to save this template to my desktop because that's a bad location. So I'm gonna go into apps here, and I'm gonna make a folder called Todoist. And then maybe I'll even make a folder in there called templates just to be extra organized. And I'll call that video editing workflow in there. And I can save it. So now, if I come into maybe content, because I like to create these categories for my projects, I come into videos, and I'm gonna make a new project. I'm gonna call it Skillshare video. Let's categorize that just to be organized. Now I don't have any tasks in here, and I could just start adding tasks manually, but I could also go to import template, select it from my computer, find our apps, Todoist, and templates, and bring that right in. And all the tasks that I need to do are automatically imported. So for any very complex process where you want to make sure you get everything done, but you don't want to manually create your checklist, this is a really nice feature. Now, one more quick feature about Todoist before we move on to the action section of this video. I want to talk about recurring tasks. So this is great for things like paying your taxes, things that come once a year, or maybe things that you need to do once a week, like cleaning your apartment. So within our Todoist, my girlfriend and I have a shared project called Chores, and there are recurring tasks for basically every aspect of cleaning up our apartment within that project. So we don't forget to, say, vacuum under the couch. We don't forget to change the litter box. So enough about the particular features of this app. It is time to put this part of the course into action. Whatever app you've chosen to use, whether it's Todoist or whether it's something else as simple as a pen and paper system or a bullet journal or Microsoft To Do, Wunderlist, go and get that system set up. Start building some projects to represent the different areas of your life and get familiar with the method in which you're going to have to enter tasks. If you are using Todoist, you might want to familiarize yourself with some of their natural language processing options. And in fact, there is a page on their website where you can see exactly what symbols you might want to use or what little shortcuts you can use to get tasks into your system with as much detail as you want, very, very quickly and with very little friction. And once you've got that done, the next part is to simply make it a part of your daily routine to look at that today section, to look at that next 7 days section, or whatever sort of time period you want to look out in terms of planning. So that way, every single day when you wake up, you know what you got to get done today and what's coming up in the future, so nothing blindsides you. So now that your task management system is set up to your liking, it is time for us to move on to the next step in the system, which is your calendar. Okay, we have now moved on to the second part of building our system, which is setting up a calendar. And as I talked about in our previous video, calendars differ from task management systems because they are a record of specific events that are coming up in your life that have specific times at which they start and stop. And a calendar could be good for entering in your class schedule if you're a student perhaps, or maybe exams when they are coming up. Or if you're professional, maybe your work schedule. You could also have things like your workout schedule or times at which you're gonna go hang out with friends. Basically anything that you wanna remember when and where it's happening, that's gonna wanna go on your calendar. So there's actually a lot of interplay between your task management system and your calendar system. And how it works for me is that I'll wake up every single morning and I'll spend time creating my daily task list in Evernote or on paper.